Hey kiddos, we are going to work in our workbook. If you will get your workbook and your calculator, and you will turn to page 28 and 29. You can pause the video till you get both of those and you're ready to work. Alright, on page 28 and 29, we are going to look at 3-2. Our learning target is there. I'm learning to evaluate functions and complete input-output tables. Functions is just a fancy word. Input-output tables is a fancy word. It's like input is what you put in, and output is what you get out. It's not rocket science. The first two things you'll see on your notes page is vocabulary. In our vocabulary, it says a function is. A function is, and I don't know if I have enough room, the relationship of X and Y. It has a bigger, longer definition, but that's the main idea. A function rule is an equation showing that relationship. Sorry, it's a little messy. So a function is the relationship of X and Y. A function rule is an equation showing that relationship. Example number 1 says Julia deposited $40 in a savings account. The function S equals 5W gives the total savings S in dollars after W weeks. Find out the output. The only thing here that you need is that there were 12 weeks and the function rule. That's the only thing that's important. That's it. That's all that you need. It gives you the steps. Number 1, write the function rule. Number 2, substitute for W. So W should be 12. And your And your calculator will solve that for you. If you put in 5 times 12 plus 40, 5 times 12 is 60. 60 plus 40 is 100. So the output S for the input of W equals 12 is 100. Oh, I guess it wanted that one to say 60. Is 100. And all that means is, if I put 12 into that equation, 100 is my answer. Let's look at the next part. The next part is an input-output table. It lists inputs on the left and outputs on the right. And it already has given me the inputs it wants me to use. It gives me my function rule, so I need that. Now all I'm going to do is use my equation, and every single time I'm going to put something new in for H. So in the first one, I'm going to put in -4. In the second one, I'm going to put in -2. In the third one, I'm going to put in 0, 2, and 4. I'm just moving my way straight down this column. Now your calculator will do this for you. If you put in 2, parenthesis, -4, parenthesis, plus 15. My phone's dead. If you put that in, it should give you 7. Okay, now this is a trick. If on your calculator, after you put in the equation once, it gives you 7. If you'll hit second enter.
Mommy, not dead.
Go ask Daddy. it should bring it down for you again, and you can use your arrows to scroll over. And all you need to do is replace the 4 with a 2. And you'll hit enter, it should give you 11. And then if you'll hit second enter again, this time you'll have to scroll over and delete the negative sign. But it should give you 15, 19, and 23. Now I'm just going to move those values over here to fill in my table. One thing I want you to notice is there's a pattern on my inputs. Each input increases by 2. So from -4 to -2 it goes up 2. From -2 to 0 it goes up 2. From 0 to 2 it goes up 2 more. There's also a pattern on my outputs. From 7 to 11 is an increase of 4. Same thing from 11 to 15, from 15 to 19, and from 19 to 23. So there is a pattern. If something happens and you don't have a pattern, then you've done something wrong. Now if there's not a pattern on your input, there's obviously not going to be a pattern on your output. Here's another input-output table. All I need from this paragraph is the rule. T equals 4C. So the C is changing. It tells me C should be 3, 6, and 9. I got that from here. 3, 6, and 9. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 6 is 24. And 9 times 4 is 36. There is a pattern on my inputs. They go up by 3. There's also a pattern on my outputs. They go up by 12. All I needed to do was the math. They gave me everything I needed. On the quick check, it only wants me to evaluate for one amount. So it only gives me one input, 20. Gives me my function rule. So there's no table here. It just wants me to check to see, did I get this, like what does it give me for this one value. I'm going to write my equation. F equals 9 over 5C, but in place of C I'm going to put 20 plus 32. You can put that in on your calculator. The B over C button does fractions for you. If you put that in your calculator, it should give you 68. So we were only evaluating for that one number. That was it. We didn't have to evaluate for anything else. Okay, on the bottom on 2, it gives me an equation. It gives me the values that it wants me to use. So I'm going to substitute in each time. 1/3 n is -1 plus 1. 1/3 0 plus 1. 1/3 1 plus 1. 1/3 2 plus 1. Now if you'll look each time, this is the only thing that changed. My number in parentheses was different every time, and I got those numbers from over here. I didn't make them up. They were given to me. Usually it will give you the number it wants you to use. And then you can just put in your calculator to evaluate. Once you put them in your calculator, you should get 2/3, 1, 1 1/3, 1 2/3. Now I know it should look correct because each time it's going up by 1/3, and there should be a pattern with my outputs since there's a pattern with my inputs. Make sure everybody knows how to get that correctly in their calculator. The deposit on a drink container is 10 cents in the state of Michigan, blah, blah, blah. All we care about is the function rule and the values it gives us. So I have 5, 10, and 15. And then my rule, D equals 0.1 C. Well, each time I'm going to put in a different C and it will give me a different D. 0.1 times 5, 0.1 times 10, and 0.1 times 15. When you put those in your calculator, you should get 0.5, 1, and 1.5. Alright, by yourself, somewhere in the white area, I have given you a function rule, y equals 4x minus 3. I want you to evaluate for the following inputs. Make sure you pause and try to do them on your own, and then play the video. Okay, on the first one, I'm going to plug in an 8. Y equals 4. Instead of x, I'm going to have 8 minus 3. So y is going to equal 29. X is my input, y is my output. Same thing over here. I'm going to use the same rule, but when I get to x, I'm going to put in negative 4. Y equals negative 16 minus 3, negative 19. Last one, same rule. When I get to x, I'm going to put in 1/2. Now, there are no pattern in these. I just picked random inputs just to practice. In the back of your workbook, in the practice section, on page 147, there are problem numbers 1 through 13. That's the whole page. It's not many. You're going to use your calculator to solve most of it. It gives you the inputs you have to solve for the outputs. So please practice this. I've also left you a checkpoint quiz in the textbook. And if you are noisy, I've left a page of skills on rounding for you to work on too. So, if you have any questions, somebody send me a message or ask your sub. I left the answers so she could check you. And I'll see you tomorrow.